Thank you, friends. Shabbat Shalom and welcome. And we're doing things a little out of order this week. Normally, I record the audio portion of the weekly show and send that out. And sometimes I get the video done at the same time, but usually I get it done a little bit later. This week, however, I want to get the video done first because I want to make sure that it's posted sometime as close to 1:30 today as possible. But I do want to thank you for coming and joining me. I hope it was a wonderful, simply wonderful Mother's Day for all, either because you're a mother or you were honoring a mother. And if you didn't get a chance, it doesn't need a special day. You can do it anytime. I encourage you again to feel free to send me an email. Your information is sacrosanct to me. You won't be added to a list, used, sold, abused, enslaved in any way, shape, or form. It's just so you can tell me what you need to at the time, and maybe we'll be honoring an event in your life, or sending healing energy, or celebrating a friend or loved one. I have received a few requests for topics that people are interested in, and we will be addressing them. So I thank you for expressing your wants and needs. And we all, of course, hope that Bob is still doing well on his road to convalescence. And when you all give thanks for what you have, don't forget to put in a word for those who need our energy. I'd also like to remind everyone that on our web page, we have now added a page devoted to the Urim and Thummim, one of only a handful of direct communication methods with God, mentioned only a few times in the Torah. Please go and check it out when you have a chance. Okay, we've reached the end of the third book of the 5 books of Moses. And don't forget, friends, this book took place entirely at the foot of the mountain in a state of stasis. It is the only one like it. And as a rare treat, this year, this week, we're going to take a look at Bechukotai, by my laws, too often tied to last week's Parsha, Bihar in the mountain, because they're usually read in conjunction, but this one deserves a good read of its own. And remember the I, Bechukotai, the I sound at the end of a word is the Hebrew for my. Here this refers to my laws. Sarah's name changed from Sarai to Sarah, represented the change from my princess to the princess, a princess of few to a princess of all. And Adonai is my God, my Adon. And I wonder if linguistically this shows the tighter connection between ancient Hebrew and Egyptian, both in alphabet and in theology. Friends, what if somebody comes up to you and says, if you, then I? We might consider this to be a conditional statement, and there are 3 types in English. And of course, they all center on a future event, and they are modified depending on whether it's something that will happen or might happen. So when the Beatles sang, if I fell in love with you, would you promise to be true? It was a conditional statement, but of course, we spend our lives looking to get and trying to provide unconditional love. We have grown up probably having come to the conclusion we didn't experience as much unconditional love as we would have liked. But certainly we believed we had it from God and get it from God. Friends, this final parsha of Leviticus is all about conditions. This book begins with laws and ends with an amazing list of blessings and curses, which indicates all the laws we've gone through have implications, and which tells us that the people's fate depends on whether they follow these laws or not. The blessings include rain, produce, security, satiety, peace, divine presence, and divine relationship, while the curses have an intensification of catastrophes, which include illness, defeat, wild animals, pestilence, famine, divine rejection, complete fear, cannibalism of our children, destruction, and perhaps the greatest curse of all in Leviticus 26:33. And you I shall scatter among nations. The curse of exile. the curse we are still suffering from. All future stories of the fortunes of the people of Israel can be understood according to this text in Leviticus, which says, good things happen if you will observe my commandments and go by my laws. Bad things happen if you break my covenant. Friends, this parsha opens with a shift in the discourse invoking 3 of the first 5 commandments. There to be no idols or pillars, and my Sabbath you shall keep, my sanctuary you shall revere. By my laws is introduced once again by the concept of sacred time and sacred space. Once again, this pronouncement brings together the sanctification of time and the sanctification of space. And friends, these are not Jewish laws. These 2 items are universal laws. The Sabbath is the most sacred time, and the sanctuary, the tabernacle, and later the temple, is the most sacred space. And this dual command embraces everything. In your own lives, please honor your sacred time and your sacred space. Carve out sacred time for yourself and create a sacred space for yourself. You don't have to go to a church or a synagogue or a mosque. You can create this yourself. But this whole set of blessings and curses is based on the conditions of either obeying or rejecting God. And I think of the verse from the George Harrison tribute to John Lennon, featuring the 3 surviving Beatles. They've forgotten all about God. He's the only reason we exist. Yet you were the one that they said was so weird all those years ago. Have we forgotten all about God over the years? Maybe so. We also have to remember, people are crazy. Times are strange. I'm locked in tight. I'm out of range. I used to care. But things have changed. And one of the great changes is in how God is presented. Is this the God of creation? The Torah is on a narrowing path. It started broad, all of creation. Then it moved to our solar system, and then our planet, then the creatures that inhabit, and then man. All the time it is getting narrower and narrower. And on a parallel course it began with all men, then a family, with the patriarch stories culminating in the Joseph Chronicles, and then a single individual, Moses. And one of the most fascinating lines in the entire Torah is here in Leviticus 26:11. And I shall put my tabernacle among you, and my soul will not scorn you. Friends, God mentions his own soul. Are we to understand that God has a soul? This is the only place in the Torah that refers to the nephesh, or soul of God. Everywhere else, this refers to the living quality of man and animals, and is associated with breath, but is always taken to mean soul. Rashi took it to mean it was about the threat of the departure of the Shekinah, which was the divine presence, as perceived in an almost visible manifestation of God on earth. But Shekinah is actually a word that never occurs in either the Torah or in the entire Tanakh. Its Hebrew root means to settle or to dwell. And so it was taken to be the place where the divine presence of God dwells. And the word we learned for the tabernacle, Mishkan, is actually from the same root, and that is the word used over and over again for the dwelling place of God. If God does have a soul, we are truly made in his image. God then goes on to add, and I shall walk among you, and I shall be a God to you, and you will be a people to me. And the words used are the same as were used in the Garden of Eden stories when God walked among humans. And so this points to a return of the closeness of the divine presence to man, a closeness which existed before the original divine-human conflict in Eden, and one we'd all like to think still exists. What's interesting is that these are also the words thought to have been used in the marriage ceremony in ancient Israel. I shall be a husband to you, and you will be a wife to me. As well as in the adoption ceremony, I shall be a parent to you, and you will be a son or daughter to me. Our relationship to God is as man and wife, or parent and child. Both special bonds, unlike any others. Friends, in our desire to understand better, we have put greater emphasis on the ethical over the ritual, to the point where we look for an ethical reason for a ritual act, such as saying we observe kashrut because of respect for animals. But this was a book concerned very much with ritual, and ritual can have immense psychological and inspirational value. And one of the great rituals portrayed over and over again in the Torah is the passing of the mantle, the rights of leadership. A bit of strong theme in the Torah, and we saw hints of it with Cain and Abel, and Isaac supplanting Ishmael as pater familias. But really it came to the forefront with Jacob and Esau, when we really understood the right of leadership was not just about firstborn, but about being the spiritual leader. And the Torah tells many stories of transfers of power and the passing of the mantle, perhaps the oldest being rabbinic ordination or smicha, a continuation since Moses laid his hands on Joshua to appoint him leader, and which I had the privilege to undergo. And sometimes we find ourselves thrust into that sudden position of leadership, of pater familias. Like Michael Corleone in the Godfather saga, sometimes we really began assuming it without realizing it. Friends, it's with great sadness and a truly heavy heart I'd like to say a few words for our friend, supporter, advisor, and patron, and a man I truly consider brother, Bruce, who lost his father the other day. And for hearts that are torn, we perform a special act, kriya, a rending of garments. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, dayan ha'emet. Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, the true judge. We are probably never truly ready for the death of a parent. It marks the end of our age of innocence. And even though death is as much a part of life as birth, it stands outside our realm of knowledge and consciousness. But we are all connected in consciousness by our thoughts and feelings and our memories, which all blend together. And it's the memories of someone that keep them alive for us. As infants, our parents fed, nurtured, and protected us from certain death, and created the innocent age in which we could develop and grow and expand. Our parents live on forever in our memories, and I'm sure we all now join together in wishing Bruce and his family the joy of wonderful memories that they can share and spread like the bursting buds of springtime leaves which give life to us all. But our thoughts and prayers go much further. They must go for the siblings who have lost an intrinsic part of their past, to the grandchildren who have lost a crucial link in their genetic makeup, to the unborn grandchildren who will miss out, and to all those touched by the life and spirit of this man. And it is in these times that we put our petty differences aside, and a family can come together right now over him. And even though he had truly assumed the leadership role, with the death of his father, Bruce has now undergone the final transition and taken on the mantle of pater familias. As Dan Fogelberg sang, back at the start it was easy to see, no one to own to, nowhere to be. Deep in the heartlands a sad memory, fretful horizons, worrisome skies, tearful misgivings burning your eyes, yearnings unanswered. Reckon the wage you pay to recapture the innocent age. Alav Hashalom. May he rest in peace. Thank you, friends. Shabbat Shalom. And thank you for joining me week after week.